We're going to go to story number one. Mr. Fakler, you were a member of the supporters club for Inter Miami, where Lionel Messi plays, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, some of the others. You've been the one match you had a little bit of a problem. You didn't wear the right garb, so they kicked you out of the supporters club section. So you are a resident soccer or football fan. Let's go to you with the first story, which is about Lionel Messi. This is coming out of all publications, the New York Post. Read you the headline, first couple graphs, Mr. Fakler, then I want you to comment. Headline, Lionel Messi buys $10.8 million mansion in South Florida. Now, before I read you the story, Mr. Fakler, let me just set as a precursor that one of the players that came over to play with Lionel Messi is a guy called Sergio Busquets. He's a good friend of Mr. Messi. He also played with him in Barcelona. Mr. Busquets has bought a house in basically Fort Lauderdale area on the Barrier Island. Mr. Messi, as you're going to find out from this story, bought very close to Mr. Busquets. He basically are forsaking Miami and buying in the Fort Lauderdale area where the stadium is currently located. So let me read the first couple graphs, Mr. Fakler. I want you to comment. Argentine soccer star Lionel Messi and his wife just plunked down $10.8 million for a waterfront Fort Lauderdale property in an off-market deal. The Real Deal broke the news of the transaction yesterday. The 10,500 square foot residence at 91 Compass Lane is in the Bay Colony gated community. It boasts 8 bedrooms, 9.5 baths, and a 3-car garage to go along with a pool and 2 docks. It's also near the Inter Miami soccer stadium. Messi, who won the World Cup for his native Argentina in December, joined Inter Miami in July. Mr. Fakler, Lionel Messi came to Miami saying that he felt like it was a very Latin culture. He liked the feeling of it. But Mr. Messi, as well as Mr. Busquets, who's originally from Spain, played for Barcelona, they both bought in Fort Lauderdale. What anybody who's been down here knows, there's not really a Latin feel, if you will, to Fort Lauderdale like there is to Miami. What do you make of that?
Well, we talked about Busquets when he purchased his place. And the fact is they both have families. So, Broward is much more family centric. And, it's a little bit slower pace for a growing family. I think that might have a lot to do with it. I am still shocked, though, that, again, he bought in Fort Lauderdale because technically they're getting a new stadium. It's getting built and should be ready online in 2025. We all don't know if Messi's contract he'll still be here, but it's very surprising that he makes such a huge purchase. He's already got condos in Sunny Isles Beach, which I guess is technically, closer to the Miami Stadium. But why is he buying a stadium close to the practice facility, which they're at now in Broward County, when they're moving to a new stadium in 2025? So I got a hunch. My hunch is that I don't know if this has been reported, but he may have been offered some sort of partnership or ownership in the team. And if that's the case, he might be here long term. He might leave the country, of course, to play in the various, different leagues that there are around the world. But he may be really looking to make South Florida his home place.
And let me try to provide some context for the audience.
Okay.
Inter Miami is building a stadium with 25,000 seats. It'll be located in Miami, right by Miami International Airport. It's scheduled to come online in roughly about 2025. And right now, Inter Miami is playing. Its stadium would be considered the practice facility. That's also where the headquarters are for Inter Miami. So, Mr. Fakler, like you say, if Messi is in fact has an equity stake in Inter Miami, his house would be very close to where the corporate headquarters are. And then Inter Miami would simply only play those matches in Miami once the stadium comes online.
Oh, interesting. So that might explain it then. I don't know if it's been reported about the ownership stake part of it, but it just makes sense. Obviously he's very close to Beckham and the Mosses, who are the ownership's primary owners of the team. So, anything's possible.
Mr. Gruss, you're on the record saying that 25,000 seat stadium is way too big. Once Messi's gone, you're probably not going to be able to fill that stadium. So I'm very interested in to hear what Mr. Silverstein has to say. Mr. Silverstein, you're a big soccer fan, a big Messi fan. What are your comments? Or what's your perspective about Mr. Messi, who came to Miami and has been when interviewed, has said he loves Latin culture in Miami, but he buys in Fort Lauderdale. What's your first reaction to that?
I mean, give me a break. Messi, of course he buys in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, basically, like, Messi, as far as I can tell, he's about as Latin as Giselle. Brady is of all, I don't know, Tom Brady finds unpopular view, least attractive Brazilian woman of all time, the whitest, not, the whitest Brazilian woman possible. Messi strikes me as exactly that sort of a person. I doubt, I can probably dance the goddamn tango better than Messi. That sounds good. Like, I don't see this guy as being like deeply, connected to Latin culture. But secondly, I cannot let this pass with quickly just saying that Lionel Messi is the biggest joke. I am not a fan of Lionel Messi. He is the biggest joke as a superstar in any sport, with the possible exception of James Harden, who, Harden is like great during the season. He can't do shit when it matters. Neither can Messi. Now you will say, oh, but he won a World Cup. Yeah, after like, what was it, fourth or fifth try? And when the refs, it was clearly a fix. He's on his way out. This loser has fucked up constantly. Every possible, in every prior World Cup, Messi doesn't just screw up. I mean, he screws up in an epic way. So, he's playing Germany, and they're in the finals against Germany in 1990. I think it was it was whenever. It was later than that. I mean, much later, actually. But whenever it is, the final, it was in Italy, because I was in Italy watching it on a giant screen, and I knew what was going to happen. I mean, there's 30 seconds left. They're down by a goal. He's got a free kick, is like barely more complicated than a penalty. Like, he puts it 30 feet over the net. It's not just that he missed. The goalie didn't have to do anything. And I knew it would happen, because that's what he always does. He misses penalties in critical moments. In this last World Cup, it was clear they just said, every game, Messi gets a penalty in the first half. I think he actually missed one of them. But, it totally changes the dynamic of the game to give a team an early lead. I'm telling you, I believe for sure, 100%, like, oh yeah, FIFA is not corrupt. They absolutely conspired to make it as likely as possible that poor fucking Messi would finally get his World Cup on his last try, because that's it. He can't, he's done now. He's a total choker. And the only reason that people in Miami are so enamored of him with the current team, hey, look, he's basically playing, Boy Scout Troop 103. He's playing in U.S. soccer, okay? It's the crappiest soccer. It's among the worst of any major country. It's by far the worst. We have a joke of a national, sport here in the U.S. And so, sure, he's going to be great. Fine. Honestly, if you put me in front of a kindergarten class, I can play all 11 of them. I'll trip them, elbow them, and score 10 goals a game for half and take a break. That's what Messi is doing now.
Peter, can I just add?
John, hold on. So for the record, anybody watching or listening to this podcast, Mrs. Silverstein, you did live in Brazil, and you're probably partial to Brazil. That's probably
that
important.
Has nothing to do with anything.
Okay.
Yeah, of course it is. I'm a fanatical Brazil fan, absolutely. But I've also watched this guy for so many years and seen him screw up so many times. It's like, it's a joke. This is no secret. Just go to Google. When I'm feeling down, I do this. Go to Google, do a search for Messi misery, and then just wait for the pictures to come up. They're all over the place, because he's always at the end of the game having fucked up once again, on the ground in absolute agony. It's in his blood. He cannot play under pressure at all. No. He can for Barcelona. He cannot for the national team, which is it's like the Super Bowl. It's like the national team of Argentina. He can't perform for in the Copa America, the South American Championship, or the World Cup. It's a joke. So they handed him both on the way out.
By the way, if anybody wants to get a hold of Mr. Silverstein, his Twitter handle, Ken Silverstein #1 at Ken Silverstein #1. He loves to talk football. He loves to talk soccer. You can get him there.
Bring it on. I trash Messi all the time. I hate the guy.
Mr. Fakler, you wanted to add something in soccer?
You just you took the words out of my mouth. I just wanted to tell our audience to please contact Ken at his Twitter handle and not my Twitter handle.